Welcome, everyone. February 14th, 2025, year of our Lord. Happy Valentine's Day, episode 20.
Of deceit. Telling the truth is a revolutionary act.
So, episode 22, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Valentine's for a lot of people is much more expensive these days. Used to be a couple of bucks. You could take your girl out, give flowers, candy, whatever. Now it's you're spending $100. You didn't even eat anything. It's completely ridiculous, to be quite frank. But hopefully Doge and the Federal Reserve can get that under control. Good evening, Earthlings and beyond. Thank you for sharing your time with me. It's greatly appreciated. I greatly appreciate you. Look, smash those like buttons, smash the share button, hit the notifications on YouTube. If you're not following me on YouTube, you're missing out. All of my best stuff is at BrewMedia at YouTube.com. Let's get this party started tonight. We're going to talk about Democrats snub their voters. Chuck Schumer calls the rising inflation numbers Trumpflation. We knew that was going to happen. Meta and Walmart lay off people as their profits hit all-time highs, right? Senator Mitch McConnell votes against RFK. Should this guy even be voting? And finally, Doge and Trump paving the way for more cuts. And look, as a libertarian, I absolutely love it. This and a whole lot more, so strap yourself in, grab a nice cold drink. Let's get this party started. Just a reminder, our cause, my cause, is the cause of all mankind. We are fighting for their liberty while defending ours. And that's what's important, to make sure that we stand up for our rights. Happy Valentine's Day, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, Amy. Hi, Julie. Democrat Minority Leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, tells his constituents basically to just go screw off. That's right. Hakeem Jeffries was giving a press conference where he was basically saying to the Democrats they have no power, that the Republicans in the House, have the House, have the Senate, have the presidency, basically said it's their government. Then he followed up with, what leverage do we have? Representative Jeffries seems very frustrated and even upset that his constituents were lighting up the telephones. He was clearly bothered. He was mad that they were calling their representatives, demanding Democrats in office to fight back, to do something, to act like they give a damn, to fight back against the Trump agenda. However, instead of Representative Jeffries being encouraged by his supporters, him and the other Democrats were waving the white flag of surrender, saying they should be calling Republicans instead. These people are completely pathetic. Basically passing the buck of responsibility. Why would anybody vote for these people? They're completely soy. They're completely, they're just, I can't even explain it. They're just ridiculous. To give you some perspective how much the Democrats have been lighting up the phones, trying to get Democrats off their tuckuses, they are seeing more phone calls than when the Kavanaugh hearings, October 7th attacks, or even the Trump impeachment hearings. So think about that. They are more concerned now than when they were impeaching Trump, okay? Representative Mark Pocan, a Democrat, said that he received more calls in one day last Monday than in all 12 years. First off, why is he there for 12 years, right? He's already there for too long. But also, Representative Jim McGovern, a Democrat, he says, I can't recall receiving this many calls. People are disgusted with what's going on, and they want us to fight back. It's kind of amazing that they need a high volume of calls from their own constituents to understand that they want their representatives to do something. Now, of course, if you're a Democrat, you cannot stand what's going on in the White House. Me as a libertarian, look, I was very upfront. I couldn't stand Trump in his first term. I thought he blew it, right? He wasn't cutting government. He grew government, right? He blew the doors off of spending. But, to see government get cut is kind of an amazing thing. Now, I want Congress to step in. I want Mike Johnson to step up and do his damn job so this stuff can stick, right? Because remember, whatever Trump does with a pen, the next guy can do with a pen as well. So, listen, Republicans, you should get off your asses, call up your representatives, and tell them to codify what Trump is doing. Anyway, say what you want about Republicans. When Republicans aren't in charge, they create a stark difference. And they challenge the Democrats. This is why Republicans won this election. As Democrats, we're telling the American people that the economy was great and we're going to have all this joy. Trump and the Republicans were talking about the economic struggles that they were facing. The Biden policies of open borders, killing people, maiming people, damaging our country and our community. Democrats responded by talking down to voters versus finding solutions, and they're doing it again. Like, they have not learned their lesson. I stated on an earlier episode that Democrats didn't take any responsibility for their losses. And unfortunately, 3 months since Trump won that election, and Trump being sworn into office, Democrats still will not take any responsibility, or now they won't even fight back. I have a word that I want to use, but there's ladies on the live, and I just don't want to use it. But they're complete P words and C words. Who else are the Democrat voters supposed to call? This response from Democrats in office is insane, and is why I have been saying that the Democrat voter needs to stop voting Democrat. Senator Richard Blumenthal said, now here's a complete wet bag. He's a total, a waste. He's a ball sack. This guy is a complete jerk off. He said, what I think we need to do is put the onus on Republicans so that the calls we're getting are redirected towards Republicans. This guy is insane. First of all, this guy's been there so long, right? You would think he would be concerned that his constituents want help, right? They want to see them do something. And his response is, let's redirect the calls. Democrats in office are completely abandoning their constituents and are doing nothing except for a really few embarrassing protests that just make them look pathetic and weak. Have you guys seen these protests that the Democrats have been doing? They come out, first off, I think AI creates these songs. They are completely soy is the best word I could put. It's embarrassing. This is why Trump is dunking on these people, because they are pathetic. Democrats seem really impotent and not really interested in doing the work for their voters. And this is really par for the course with the Democrat bosses who already rigged several elections and forced down their throat hacks and corrupt politicians like Hillary and Biden, right? Now look, as a libertarian myself, I know Democrats aren't going to listen to me. Now, I've had several Democrats that wanted to vote libertarian, right? But they didn't because they were like, again, they're soy, they're too scared, But I was telling them, I said, look, even if you're not going to vote for the libertarian, right? Go for Jill Stein, right? They could have voted for Dr. Cornel West, right? They had several other people they could have voted for, right? They did not have to vote for that wetbag Harris, who was she was planted in. Now look, I believe the libertarian philosophy is the best philosophy. And so obviously, I like that Elon has adopted our libertarian philosophies? Because what Elon is doing is not Republican. Let's be honest about that. Elon is really taking the philosophy of a Milton Friedman. He's taking the philosophy of a Ron Paul, right? Now, all we need, again, I'm going to say it 100 times, we need Congress to step up and make sure that these cuts stick and protect Trump and protect what they're doing, okay?
Excuse me, Bobby Bones. I love this guy. Listen, folks, go subscribe to this guy's YouTube, please. It's free. It doesn't cost a thing. Love this guy. YouTube.com/brewmedia, BROOMMEDIA. No spaces, all lowercase. Go now. Do it. This guy is the best. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. Thank you, and I couldn't agree more with you. And you know what, Amy, you're 100% right. These are not Democrats. They haven't been Democrats in years. You know, these are all socialists. And, you know, coming from the Northeast, you know, I grew up with my uncle helping Democrats get elected growing up, right? They were a completely different party. You know, this party, I don't even recognize it. So I'm telling Democrats, if you are a Democrat and you are listening to me, listen, I get it. You don't like Trump. You don't have to like Trump. But my God, grow a pair. Stop voting for people who hate you and hate your family, okay? They don't respect you. They laugh at you, right? Give Jill Stein a look. She's not that bad. Give Cornel West a shot, right? Look at your third-party candidates. Stop being blind vessels for the Democrat Party. You know, and you know what? Maybe if 10 or 15% of you voted third party, right? Maybe then the party would wake up and say, wait a minute, we didn't lose by 1% or 2%. Oh my God, I lost by 10%. You know, you would get their attention, okay? But, you know, you guys do what you want to do. But that would be my take, you know, and why I left the Republican Party. I'm going to tell everybody why I left the Republican Party. I was a Democrat. You know, I grew up a Democrat. Then I took a look at the Republicans, and they were no better than the Democrats. You know, other than a few little social issues. But, you know, they blew out the deficits. They put the wars on credit cards. They raided the Social Security Administration. I mean, you know, both parties gave us $36 trillion in debt. Including Trump, including Biden, including Obama, including Bush, okay? I left the party. I left the Republican Party. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take... I'm not going to lie for anybody. But let me tell you, right now, this new Trump that came in, I got to say, I'm pretty impressed. You know, as far as the Doge aspect goes, trying to cut government, like, I think they cut within the last week like another 7,000 or 8,000 people, could be 12. You know, that I am for, right? Now, all I'd like is for them to follow the Constitution while doing it, okay? There's nothing wrong with me saying that or calling that out, right? Do I believe in Trump's executive orders? No, unconstitutional. Do I believe in the czars? No, unconstitutional. But I like the direction that we're going in as far as shrinking government, you know, and trying to, because every time you shrink the government, you give back economic and personal freedoms back to the people. So I like that we're heading in that direction. I just want to follow the Constitution when doing it. But I was a Democrat my entire life, saw the Obama, and I said, I'm changing. I don't want no part of this. We're not the same as my parents were. That's right, Amy, 100%. I could not agree with you. Obama really turned the country, really turned it. He wasn't Bill Clinton, that's for sure.
Bobby Bones, it's me, Elon. Thanks for the support, my friend.
Yeah.
I have been thinking, if it's not in the Constitution, we just shouldn't do it. Who do I know that said that?
Yeah, yes. That's right, Elon. If it's not in the Constitution, we should not do it. And that's my rule of thumb. Now, story number 2, the Federal Reserve stopped too early. Now, what I mean by that is rate hikes. I've been saying for 5 years, this March will be 5 years, that the Federal Reserve wasn't going to put out the inflation fires because I understood that we're living in a monetary roach motel. You can check out anytime you'd like, but you can never leave. Because I understood that the Fed would retreat from raising rates where they needed to be long before they got rates where they had to be in order to slay the inflation dragon. Well, we got the last report, and guess what? Inflation came in hot, hot, hot. And what was even more shocking than the high numbers is how the financial media is covering it. They are all completely downplaying the significance of this report and barely covered it. Now, Jerome Powell was up on Capitol Hill yesterday, and his topic never even came up. You would think with inflation hitting 50% higher than their target, the subject of the conversation would come up, but no. They were talking about how inflation was in a good place, and even though the past 4 prints went up consecutively, 0.2, 0.3, 0.04, 0.05, you notice the trend? The year-over-year number came out at over 3%. Why is this so significant? Is because the Fed is saying that we're on a glide path to 2. However, we just glided to 3 in less than 4 months. And if we continue on this path, we could reach 10% inflation by the end of this year. Now, I'm not saying we're going to hit 10%. I think we're going to land around 5 or 6. But that would be triple the target. Terrible for savers. Terrible for people on fixed incomes. Terrible for people trying to sell a home, right? And if you look at the core CPI number, it was supposed to be 3.1, but instead it was 3.3, much hotter than expected. And if you look at the monthly gain, it was up 0.5, almost 60% hotter than their expected target. And the media is just shrugging this off, saying it was only one month. But it wasn't 1 month, it was 4 months in a row gliding up. This is why Powell needed to tell Congress to stop spending, tighten their belts. But instead, he keeps telling Congress, do whatever you guys do. Don't worry, because the Fed will just adjust around you. Meaning, he's willing to monetize the debt and print more paper. I mean, are you kidding? He's another guy that's pathetic. This is why, when he asks, what is your plan if we get stagflation? He said the plan is not to get stagflation. Because he doesn't have a plan. You know, now I've been predicting that we're headed towards stagflation, although I'm early to the party, okay? We're headed there. And it seems we're already in a manufacturing recession, and I'm going to get into more key numbers that back that up. But one thing Powell said in that congressional hearing is that he has his head down and is working. Well, maybe he should lift his head and look at the actual numbers, right? Look at the data. Powell told Congress that expectations of 2% is well anchored. I mean, what is this guy talking about? On Friday last week, and I spoke about it on this program, that we had a huge surge in inflation expectations, the highest since 2008, hitting 4.1%. So consumers overall are expecting 4.1%. How is Powell saying that expectations are still around 2%? The financial medias are talking about rate cuts when they should be talking about rate hikes, along with shrinking the balance sheets. And of course, the minute these numbers came out, who did they blame? Chucky Schumer called it Trumpflation. I mean, these guys, they prostitute themselves. It's amazing. I mean, Chuck Schumer looked at the January numbers and called it Trumpflation. Well, I got some news for you, Chucky. Trump was only in office for 10 days. Biden was in office for 20. Stupid, you can't even do math. But look, and get ready for more of this, because this is what I tried to explain to Republicans if Trump won. The financial media have been framing the economy as really strong and really robust, right? But I'm telling you, the second we start getting hotter inflation prints, which we're getting, the second big layoffs start happening, the second the economy starts to slow, right? We're seeing housing struggling, right? We're seeing car repos up. We're seeing credit card defaults at all-time highs. They're going to turn it on Trump. They're going to say, hey, you know, Biden gave you this incredible economy. Look, I told you Trump screwed it all up. Hey, Raymond. Hey, buddy. Happy Valentine's Day to you and your lovely wife. I appreciate you. That's right, Amy. Yeah, Powell definitely needs to go.
Listen, folks, go subscribe to this guy's YouTube, please. Excuse me, Bobby Bones, I love this guy. Listen, folks, go subscribe to this guy's YouTube, please. It's free. It doesn't cost a thing. Love this guy, youtube.com/BrewMedia, BROMMADIA.
Thank you, Trump. Thank you. I know you're very busy. Now, of course, at some point, Trump is going to own the inflation and the economy. But I want everybody to know there is a lag in the economy. And it is ridiculous to blame the guy who's not even on the job a month. In fact, none of the price increases have anything to do with Trump. There is usually a 12 to 18 month lag in the economy, but the media and the public might not give Trump 12 to 18 months because Trump made a mistake. One of the mistakes he made was he right away announced, we're in the golden age. He shouldn't have did that. Because again, when the economy rolls over, they're going to hang the economy around Trump's neck. Now, I'm going to tell you the truth. You know, whose fault it is and all of that. Now, look, there's a lot of layoffs in government now, and there's a lot of layoffs in the private sector. So expect, the unemployment numbers to increase. But it's a good thing to lay off the government workers, right? It's a bad thing when the private sector does it, right? So what we want to do is we want to turn those people in the government that are gumming up the system, costing us tax dollars, and turn them into productive citizens. And Amy, you know, my first mortgage was much higher. It was actually 2.5 times higher than the mortgage rates today. Okay? But yet my payment was very low. Why? Because the house didn't cost anything, right? So it's not the rates that's the problem. The rates are actually too low. The house's prices need to come down, right? So what we need is we need price to come down and rates to normalize. And in order to do that, you got to allow the economy to pop. But Jerome Powell's not letting it happen. So the longer Jerome Powell doesn't do his job, the longer this goes on. And if anybody remembers Reagan's first 2 years in office, you know, they let rates soar up to 21%. And you know, we went into a deep recession, but we had to have that recession for the growth that we had later on that lasted almost 20 years, right? So that's what we need. Only this time, the damage is much bigger, right? Because we have a much bigger asset bubbles. So we need a Paul Volcker in office, not a Jerome Powell, because Paul Volcker was the guy who popped the inflation bubble that Nixon, Ford, and Carter created. This is a house on my street. It's like 400,000. It's only worth. Yeah, that's right, Julie. You know, people confuse price with value, right? And so Yeah, that Julie, that house has a price of $400,000, but what's the value? It's not 400, right? But it's got a price to it. Anyway, story number 3, talking about job layoffs. Just announced that Meta and Walmart are both cutting jobs. Walmart announced that they would be letting go hundreds of people in North Carolina in order to bring back their main hubs in Arkansas and California. New Jersey is also on the chopping block. Walmart said that they are going to stop allowing working from home because they see the benefits of teams working together in the office versus at home by themselves. Like, I predicted that day one of COVID. Like, that was the stupidest thing. I'm sorry. I know employees like to pretend that they do better at home, but you don't. Not when you're working for someone else. Now, if you're working for yourself, completely different, right? Because you have a different approach, right? Because you're trying to make yourself money, right? But, give me a break. You're in your pajamas all fucking day. Like, you're not, you're not busting it the way you would be at the office. So Walmart is known for allowing employees to move from one location to another whenever they shut down their stores. However, most of the people who work for Walmart don't have the finances to move. And it's a backdoor way to trim the workforce without looking mean. Like, hey, look, we offered you a job if you could just get there. How's a Walmart employee going to make it to California, right? He ain't going to get there. So Walmart looks good on paper, right? Look, we gave them another job. They just have to get there. You know how much it costs to move? Has anybody looked at movers? If you could get a mover under 10 grand, God bless you. It's really expensive. And if you're working at Walmart, I'm guessing you don't have a lot of straps in your bank account. Straps meaning straps around the dollars, right? And again, I'm not putting down Walmart workers. We need those employees, right? They provide a service to the people. But, come on. I mean, seriously, you think they're going to be able to move across the country? Walmart has also been very aggressive in implementing AI to their business model. And as of right now, they are hoping that 65% of their stores are going to be automated by 2026. That's next year, guys. That sounds to me like they will be laying off a hell of a lot of people in the near future. Now, while Walmart is laying off people, let's look at the numbers. Walmart's profits were up another 6%, hitting an all-time record of $648 billion for 2024. I mean, come on. Their records, they are banking, and they're still sticking it to the little guy. It's just amazing. These layoffs are having some real unintended consequences throughout the economy. Just like this week, Meta announced that they're going to be laying off 5% of their workforce. Meta has about 74,000 employees. So that means they're going to be removing roughly 3,700 people. Now, in classic Zuckerberg, way, Zuckerberg said that he is only going to remove his lowest performers and removing all the dead weight. Okay, fair enough. However, I've been getting emails and stories to me given from employees who have received very high scores on their performance reviews and are receiving notices of terminations anyway. So, is Zuckerberg lying, right? Because we know he lies, right? So, he's telling the public, hey, I'm going to lay off all these slackers, right? But meanwhile, people who are receiving the top, scores on their performance reviews, they're the ones getting cut. And again, just like how Walmart tries to disguise the layoffs in a way that doesn't make them look bad, here we have Meta doing the same thing by claiming these employees suck. When in fact, they were getting very high scores And people were posting them online, showing their scores and their termination letters. Who am I to believe? Zuckerberg, who has lied to us since the beginning, or these poor employees who are now, kicking rocks? He is also, check this out. You talk about a guy, Mr. Wokeness, I care about families. Well, guess who he's also cutting? A lot of the people he's cutting are people on parental leave. Okay? Did you hear that? People who are having children or just had children, right? I mean, what a great guy, right? A true blue Democrat. There was one guy who was a product manager who was performing above expectations, okay? Was receiving bonuses. He got his notice. Mind you, let's dig into the numbers. Mind you, Meta is not hurting for money. Meta earned over $164 billion last year with a B. That was up from $134 billion the year before. Of course, look, these guys, they're raking in record profits, and they're sticking it to the little guy. And what they do is, to save face, they want to try and look like, hey, look, I'm not really cutting that job, or look, I got to get rid of these people because they're slackers, right? To make themselves look better. But meanwhile, they're getting rid of hard workers. And do they really need to remove these people? I mean, it's not, I can understand, hey, I got to tighten my belt because, we lost a bunch of money. Both of those companies are raking in record profits. And, they're just sticking it to their people. So, I don't know. So, story number 4, Senator Mitch McConnell votes against RFK, but should he be voting...
Mark Zuckerberg here. I just want to say, I'm sorry, you're right.
Thank you, Zuckerberg. I appreciate you. So, Senator Mitch McConnell votes against RFK, but should he be voting at all? Here's a guy who's been in Congress for decades. He is now 83 years old and could barely function. He has fallen several times over the past few weeks, and is even frozen on camera during press conferences. Right now, as we speak, his arm hurts, his wrist, because he just took another fall. I blame the voters of Kentucky for not primarying this fossil and getting him out. I am so sick and tired of voters that just vote down ticket. You don't even know who you're voting for, right? Like, you complain that the government, does a bad job, right? But then you don't do your civic duty and primary these people, right? Again, it's wishful thinking to think that they're ever going to give themselves term limits, right? But it's up to us to get off our tuckuses, get off our asses, get out there, speak up, and vote these pricks out like Mitch McConnell, okay? Mitch McConnell is responsible for trillions of dollars of spending, okay? He's going to die soon, okay? He's not going to have to pay it, okay? His family is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, okay? He doesn't care, right? So, shame on Republicans in Kentucky for voting this prick in, right? He should not be allowed to vote. I'm sorry. So I believe, look, if we can have an age limit to become a senator or to become a president, we can have an age limit to not be a president or to not be a senator. I'm sorry, but I don't want some 80-year-old windbag who falls down every other day, doesn't know where the hell he is, freezes up on TV, voting. I'm sorry. And now, this guy's whole thing is being vengeful. It's not really what government is supposed to do. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate that. Story number 5. Doge and Trump cutting more government. Yes. So Elon said, which I agreed with him, that we will have to pull the roots out of these government agencies or the weeds might grow back. And I could not agree with him more saying that. Trump has ordered people who were hired over the past 2 years in the federal government to be the first on the chopping block, which makes sense because under 2 years you don't have the unions protecting them. This means that up to 200,000 people are in jeopardy of losing their jobs. The agencies that Trump is focused on right now, the Department of Education, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Veterans Affairs, Small Business Administration, and the Department of Energy. These cuts are going to help mitigate the economic damages that have already been caused. Democrats are pushing back, but the truth is that most of these jobs just gum up the system. They get in the way of the private sector and make life harder for everyone. The truth is that when you work for government, okay, you don't pay taxes, okay? What it is, it's so you have two people, right? This one's in the private sector, this one's in the government. This guy pays taxes. His taxes pay this man's salary, who then takes a little bit of his money to pay tax. So they don't even pay taxes. That's why government jobs used to be called workers' programs, right? It's very socialist, right? And so look, we got to shrink government, and we got to get Congress on board to solidify these cuts. The Department of Education needs to be and I'm on kids today. Department of Education. Yeah, I agree with you, Julie. 100%. You're right. I was watching a video today that was on X, and it was a video of concerned parents who went to a council meeting. And it was a school council meeting. And basically the parents were outraged about all this sexual stuff shown to the children. And I'm so glad that people are waking up to this stuff. And because the people were outraged, the council members of the board, they got up and walked away. They said, this is our council. And, basically they didn't want to hear from their constituents. I got some news for you people in government, okay? We don't work for you. You work for us, okay? You are the civil servant. We are the masters, okay? I am sick, and I've said this so many times. You go in these government buildings, and it's just wall to wall of dumb people. No offense if you're in government. But a lot of these people, they couldn't make it in the private sector. That's why they work for government, right? And, like when I go for a building permit, right? I go for a construction permit, and the guy who is approving my permit has never swung a hammer himself, never used a tape measure, doesn't know how to build a fucking thing. He's going to tell me what I can build, right? Are you serious? I mean, this is the problem. And so I look forward to cutting these agencies that gum up the systems to prevent us from doing commerce and doing business. So I wanted to say that. And look, I'm going to call it early tonight. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. It's Valentine's night. And I don't want to take up a lot of time. We went over actually a lot of stuff tonight pretty quickly. But I appreciate everybody. Thank you again. Don't forget, go to YouTube, Brew Media, and subscribe. Check out my videos. There's a lot of cool stuff in there that you're not getting on here. And if you miss this episode, you can always go there and catch it. Share, like, follow, be the resistance, follow the Constitution. I love you. Good night, everybody, and take care.